reflections. Alright, so this is a big mess, but this is what reflections are. Okay? They are just two shapes that are flipped over, or a shape that's flipped over a line. Okay, so in this case, this one on the right, this is our pre-image. We flipped it over this line N to make our image. If we construct perpendicular bisectors between each of these points, that's our line of reflection. Okay, you're not going to actually have to construct that, but you will need to know that this is a perpendicular bisector. It'll come into play later, not so much right now. Okay, which means each of these points are the same distance away from that line. Okay, so if we actually measured from A prime to N, that would be the same distance as from A to line N. Alright, so when we're making reflections, okay, it means that the shape is the same distance away from its line of reflection as its pre-image. Okay, so we're going to just focus on the X and Y axis, and then we'll also do a couple of Y equals X and Y equals negative X lines. Alright, so if I'm going to reflect over the Y axis, first of all, which one's the Y axis? The one that goes up and down. Alright, which means I'm flipping my shape across left or right to left in this case. Alright, so if we're going to move the point P, where is it going to end up?
2 from the middle line.
Right, 2 over this way. Okay, if I'm going to mark my coordinates, so this one would be 2, 5 is where P is. 2, 2 is R, and 6, 2 is where Q is. Alright, so this is my new P prime. Notice it's at negative 2, 5. Alright, so where does R prime going to end up?
Negative 2.
Okay, it's going to flip over, so it's going to be negative 2, 2. Alright, and Q? Where does Q end up? Alright, we're keeping the same distance away from the line, so it's going to flip over to negative 6. Alright, so if I draw my shape, it should look similar, just flipped over. Alright, the next one, we've got that same shape, only this time we're reflecting over the x-axis. Alright, so again, we've got the same coordinates. Alright, but this time we're flipping it from top down. Alright, so let's start with R. Where will R end up? End up down here. So that's R prime, that's still at 2, but negative 2 for a Y value. Alright, Q, where's Q end up? Six, negative 2. Alright, and then if we flip P over, it's still going to be at 2, but down at negative 5. Alright, so the next one gets a little trickier. Alright, this is reflecting over the line y equals x. So the line y equals x is what we call a parent function. And this is diagonal line that goes through the origin with a slope of 1.
Okay, we got it.
Okay, so that's our line y equals x. Alright, so how do you think this one's going to change?
They're all just going to be negative. All of them are going to be negative. It'll flip the sheet. Will it just like, from -2 is -2, -6 is -2, -2 is -5. Yeah.
What do you think, Carmen?
You can explain it, but
I'm pretty sure I reflected it right.
Okay, first of all, what do you think is going to happen to this point R? If it's sitting on the line of reflection, how far away from the line of reflection is it? 0, right?
It'll stay the same.
So this one's going to stay the same. So this is going to be our R prime. That's not going to change. You might flip it around the line and it still ends up back in the same spot, right? Okay, where is Q going to end up?
Do it.
Negative 2.
You think it's going to move down here?
No.
Over here?
This doesn't make sense. Wait, the P would go down, like, this way. It'd go like this.
Okay, we're flipping it this way, right? Okay, so
Oh.
P is going to end up down here.
So you're not reflecting it, you're flipping it.
Well, I am reflecting it, but I'm reflecting it across a diagonal this time. So it's not as straightforward as
I
just,
am so big.
okay? And Q is going to end up here.
Guys,
All right, now when we're reflecting over lines like this, there's rules, which we'll cover in just a second, okay, that make this a lot easier to figure out. Remember, we're trying to figure out, if I draw a line from Q to Q prime, these have to be the same distance away, and this has to be perpendicular, which means we're looking for triangles and Pythagorean theorem and all that kind of stuff, which can be done, but it's easier if we just remember the rules. Alright, so if we, I'm going to change my color here. Alright, so these are going to be our primes. Alright, so R stayed the same. P prime went from 2,5 to 5,2, and Q went from 6,2 to 2,6. Alright, what do you notice? What happened to our coordinates? Okay, Q was at 6,2 and Q prime is at 2,6. What do I do with the coordinates? I just flip-flop. Okay, so I just change my X and my Y around. Alright, so now if we're reflecting over the line Y equals negative X, alright, this time we've got a line going the opposite way. think R is going to end up this time?
-2 and -2.
-2. Okay, so this is my R prime. Alright, where is Q going to end up?
Go.
Close. There you go. We're going to flip them. Alright, which means P is going to be at -5, -2. Alright, so this time we don't just flip them, but we flip them and we change signs. Alright, so on your blue handout, alright, so a reflection is a flip over a line. Okay, reflection preserves our shape and our distance. Okay, so we didn't change the shape. What we changed is the way that it faces. Alright, so when we're flipping these, okay, remember x-axis is our horizontal. So we're flipping from top to bottom or bottom to top. Okay, the y-axis, that's our vertical axis, so we're flipping left to right. Okay, over the line, y equals x. Okay, we're flipping diagonally. Y equals -x, we're flipping diagonally the other way. Okay, so the rules, this is what we figured out when we were doing those. Okay, if it flips over the x-axis, my x-coordinate stays the same, but my y, I change the signs. Okay, so if it was positive, it becomes negative. If it was negative, it becomes positive. Okay, same thing for y. The y stays the same, but the x changes signs. Okay, over the line y equals x, we flip-flop our coordinates, and y equals -x, we flip-flop our coordinates and change signs. Alright, there is, so we talked about that already. Alright, there's a check for understanding in there. Okay, so the first part is, it tells you what you're reflecting across. You have to mark the other shape. The second part of this is writing the rule. Okay, so it'll give you the shape and its pre-image, or the image and its pre-image, and you have to tell me which line did it reflect across. Okay, so that's all you need to put in there is like reflect across whatever line.